Welcome back to the study of the Beatitudes. I am Pastor Janet Hellner-Burris of the Christian Church of Wilkinsburg, where we are learning through the Beatitudes how to become the place for peace in our community. Today we are looking at the final Beatitude. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I remember attending the ordination of a colleague. It was a great day, a day of celebration. And during the charge to her, one of her colleagues said to her that today a huge target sign had been placed over her, and the bullseye was her heart. That because of her ordination, now people would be targeting her with all of their anger, with all their confusion, their fear, their guilt, their hatred. And she had to be prepared for the fact that she had a target sign over her as an ordained minister. The truth is, we all, as disciples of Christ, have a great big target sign over us. And the bullseye is our heart. That's what Jesus is trying to say to us in this final beatitude. In essence, he is saying to us, if we do these practices of the Beatitudes, if we are poor in spirit and humble, if we are meek and nonviolent in our body, in our words and thoughts, if we are peacemakers, if we hunger and thirst for righteousness, if we mourn and cry Jesus' tears in the world, if we live out these Beatitudes, we will know persecution of some kind. I know when I think of persecution, I think of Christians in non-Christian nations where they are tortured and killed for their belief and their practices of being a disciple of Christ. But persecution comes in all forms. We can be verbally abused. We can have people bullying us on social media. We can lose a job. We can lose income. We can lose a friend. We can lose a family member or even a spouse. Those are all forms of persecution. But in this beatitude, Jesus also tells us how to be in a time of persecution, how to get through that time. He says in verse 12, rejoice and be glad. We are to rejoice and be glad because we have been identified as one of Jesus' people, as one of his disciples of Christ. Our actions, our words have gotten notice by the world, and so if we're being persecuted, we know that we are making a difference for Jesus. Rejoice and be glad, he says. And yet there's another reason why he tells us to do this. He wants us to hang on to joy. In the midst of persecution, we need to hang on to the joy we have in Christ. It is joy that will keep our hearts strong through a time of persecution. We must not allow the persecution to turn us into persecutors. And the way for us to do that, to not turn into the oppressor, is to hang on to joy. So blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Rejoice and be glad.